Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope I'm audible. I'll share my screen now. Okay. So, in our last class, we started with a Boiler Act 2025. We have seen the definition, what is meant by boiler. Okay. As I said, we have this PPT, which is visible, if I'm not wrong. Okay. I'll zoom it somehow. Okay. So this is the a consolidated a legal requirement with respect to a boiler act. So here we have different types of requirements: ensure, obligation, record, then license. These are the different types. So when I say ensure, this is the requirement. Even obligation also, it is to be must and should followed. And record, it is nothing but you have to maintain certain documentation. License, it is also one of the mandatory requirements. Okay, so these all type of requirements we have to follow. So one is a boiler repair must be done at the approved premises. Design, materials, and also fittings must meet the standards. Welding must be certified welders. If in-house repair isn't possible, hire a certified boiler repairer. Okay, as per the section 10 and subsection 1A, B, C, and D. Okay, we'll see what exactly it is. It is just basically a definition of it. Rule number, section number 10. Conditions precedent for repairing boiler and boiler components. No person shall repair or cause to be repaired a boiler or boiler components. One is boiler and the boiler components. The premises or the precinctions within the boiler or boiler components or both are being used has such facilities for repair as may be specified by the regulations. Okay, it has to be maintained or it has to be mentioned as per the regulations. It has to be meet the regulatory requirements. And then the design and drawings of the boiler or boiler components conform to the such standards, and the material, mounting, and fittings used in the repair of the boiler or boiler components conform to such specifications as may be specified by the regulations. So boiler and its components has to meet the specified standards, and also the repair has to be done as specified by the regulations. It means as per the requirements. The user who does not have the in-house facilities for the repair of a boiler or boiler components engage a boiler repairer positioning the boiler repair certificate. So if you're not doing in-house, so you have to hire a boiler repairer from external who is having the certificate. And also we have to engage a competent person for the provision of repair to be carried out in-house or by the repairers. So here it has to be, the repair has to be happen under the supervision of the competent person. Okay, that is the requirement. So again, the person safety person of the working inside the boiler is ensured, and also taking such measures may be specified by the regulations. We have to take the appropriate safety measures required for the people who are doing that repairs. So basically, you are not supposed to do any repairs as your own. It has to be done by the certified welder, And also we have to appoint a competent person, third party, who will monitor that repair. If your in-house it is not possible, you have to hire the external person who is having the welding repair certificate. Okay. So then any person is repairing the boiler or boiler components must engage the competent person. This we have seen already. And any person repairing the boiler component must have ensure the safety. This point also be covered. Then any person or entity carrying out repairs must possess a boiler repairer certificate issued under the Act and in the manner of defined by the regulations. So they have to get the repairer certificate. Okay, this one. A boiler repairer shall obtain such certificate in such a manner as may be specified by the regulations. Then the owner must ensure every boiler in use is registered as per the Act or rules. Using an unregistered boiler is prohibited and may be lead to penalties. This is also another obligation, section 11(1)(a). It means I request everybody please be in mute because I am switching between two screens. Okay, it will be difficult. Okay, so prohibition of use of unregistered boilers. So without a registration of the boiler as per this act and rules, you are not supposed to be used. Okay. Then 11B, when the boiler is moved across the states, a transfer must be officially reported per the regulations before operation to avoid the penalties and non-compliance by the owner. 11(1)(b). If the boiler is being transferred from one state to other, so it has to be informed to the concerned authorities to avoid the penalties. Okay. Then the owner must ensure the boiler is not used without a valid certificate or a provisional order and is operated strictly within the certified pressure limits to avoid the safety hazards and legal penalties, which is 11(1)(c) and 11(1)(d). So unless owner is in possession of certificate, the provisional order authorizing the issue of the boiler, and also at a pressure or higher or maximum pressure recorded in such certificate or order. So they should not operate, or they can operate with the provisional certificate, and also they should not exceed the pressure, which is the designed or working pressure. Then the boiler operator must have a valid competency or a proficiency certification, boilers registered or certified under the previous repealed acts or deemed registered under this act, which is a obligation. Okay. Here, the central government has made these rules requiring the boiler shall be in charge of a person holding a certificates of proficiency or competency. It means the operators of the boiler should have a valid certificate. So, class A boiler operator or class B boiler operator. Okay, only those people have to operate the boiler. Then the owner of the boiler shall applying for a boiler operation or related certificates, fulfill the eligibility criteria, pay prescribed fee, and also follow procedures set by the central government and regulations. 11-2. So here, a qualified and experienced of persons intended to obtain a certificate of proficiency or competency, fee and the procedure for obtaining such certificate shall be such as may be prescribed by the central government. So they have to apply for the certificate. Okay, the owner has to apply sometimes the candidate themselves they will apply with their own money, or sometimes the owner also will give a sponsorship for that certificate. Okay. The owner must submit a complete registration application with drawings, specifications, certificates, required documents, and fees as prescribed by the state rules to the inspector before the use of the boiler. So they have to do the registration of the boiler. So the owner of the boiler, which is not registered under the provision of this act, so whatever the boilers are not registered as per this act, shall make an application to the inspector in such a form, along with such drawings, specification, certificate, and other documents as may be specified by the regulations to have a boiler registered. So we'll see the application forms in the end. So whatever the boilers which are there, which are not registered under this act or as per this act, they have to give a application to the boiler inspector. Every application for registration under subsection 1 shall be accompanied by the fee as may be specified by the state governments. So along with the application, we have to pay the required fee as well. Okay. On receipt of application, the inspector shall fix a date within 30 days or such shorter period as may be prescribed by the state government from the date of the receipt of the application for examination of the boiler, and shall give the owner thereof not less than 10 days notice of the date of so fixed. So within 30 days they will fix, and also they'll give a intimation of 10 days before to the owner of the boiler for the inspection. Okay. Then the owner ensure the physical marking and of registration number on boiler as per the regulations, aiding identification and also compliance verification, and report the transfer of boiler from one location to another within a state in a manner prescribed by the state government, which is 12(8). So transfer of boiler. On receipt of boiler registration certificate, the owner shall cause a registration number to be permanently marked on the boiler in such a manner that within the such time it may be specified by the regulations. Once you have the registration number, it has to be permanently registered or marked on the boiler. Okay. Then the owner must report a transfer of boilers within the state as prescribed by the state government, which is 12(9). Okay. The owner must report the transfer of boiler within the state as per the requirement. So here the transfer of the boiler from one place to another place within the state shall be reported in such a manner as defined by the state government. Okay. Then a valid boiler certificate must be maintained. It becomes invalid if expired after an accident, relocation, or structural or steam pipe changes, or if declared unsafe by the inspector or chief inspector. Okay, so it become invalid. One is renewal of certificate. So the certificate authorized by use of the boiler shall cease to be in force on expiry of the period for which it was granted. Once the license got expired, it will get seized, or the license gets seized in the case of, or in the event of any accident, or the license gets seized in the case of it is moved from one place to other place, or in the case of it is structural alterations, additions, or renewal is made in order to other boilers, or the chief inspector feels that this boiler is not safe to operate, the license gets seized. One is if the license get expires, and second one in the case of any accident happen, with the boiler. And third one, the boiler is moved or shifted. And fourth one, in the case of any alterations happens. Okay, and sixth case, in the case of any inspector feels that the operation of boiler is unsafe. Okay, unsafe to operate. Sorry, any question? Okay. The owner of the boiler must submit an application to the competent person for renewal in a prescribed form along with required documents and fees prescribed by the regulations. 13 section and subsection 3. This one. When a certificate ceases to be enforced, the owner of the boiler may make an application to the competent person for renewal thereof in such a form as prescribed whenever the license gets seized. Okay. And the next requirement is a critical information. The chief inspector may revoke a certificate if obtained fraudulently, issued without a proper checks, the boiler is unsafe or operated by an unqualified person, or the industries must ensure valid documents, proper exams, and certified boiler operators. Okay, the inspector may revoke the certificate of a boiler, which means they will take back the approval or the license which they have issued. How they do? One is the chief inspector may at any time withdraw or revoke any certificate. At any point of time, he can take the back your certificate. He can cancel your boiler license. Certificate in the sense license at any point of time. If there any reason to believe that the certificate or provisional order has been obtained fraudulently, illegally, you would have obtained the license, and also without sufficient any examinations if it is issued, and maybe if he feels uh, granted has ceased to be a good condition, and third one, a person is not holding a certificate of proficiency. In these cases, he may revoke the certificate at at any point of time. Okay. Then any industry must ensure that any modification, alteration, or renewal of boilers must be certified by the chief inspector to ensure safety compliance. So any industry, which means every organization, must ensure that any modifications or alterations or renewal of boilers must be certified by the chief inspector. For example, if you are doing any changes to your boiler or your steel pipes or your network or any other components of the boilers, you do any modification. So the modification has to be authorized by the chief controller or chief inspector. In the sense, they have to approve that authorization or they have to approve that alteration or such modification. Okay, we'll see 17. So here the section. No structural alteration and renewal of boiler. No structural alteration, addition or renewal shall be made in or to any boiler registered under this act unless such alteration, addition, or renewal has been authorized in writing by the chief inspector. So, without any authorization by the chief inspector, you should not do any alterations or modifications on your boiler or any other components. Okay. The boiler owner must notify the chief inspector in writing about any planned structural changes to steam pipes or boiler components, providing details as per regulations. This ensures transparency and compliance. 18-1. So, alteration or renewal of steam pipes of the boilers. Where the owner of the any boiler registered under this act intends to make any structural alteration, addition, or renewal in order to any steam pipe or other boiler components attached to the boiler, he shall submit to the chief inspector a report in writing of his intention and send therewith or such particulars of a proposed alteration, addition, or renewal as may be specified by regulations. Okay, they have to submit in writing to the chief inspector for his authorization. And also, any structural alterations, additions, or renewals shall be made by a person positioning a boiler repairer or certificate and the supervision of competent person. So here you'll have third party TPIs, certified people. They will come and monitor your activity. Okay. And also they should have the repairer certificate. Who is repairing the certificate, they should have that. Okay. So this is 18.2, this we have covered. Owner must provide all reasonable facilities and also required information to the competent person during the boiler or a competent examination. It is nothing but they have to provide the proper information and facilities during the examination of the boiler. Owner must ensure that the boiler and its components are properly prepared and ready for examination as per the regulatory specifications. Okay, it has to properly prepared and ready for examination. The boiler has to be prepared, and also the documentation has to be kept readily available for the repair. Okay. Then, in the case of registration application, owner must provide the competent person with the required drawings, specifications, certificates, and other prescribed details during boiler or a competent examination, which is 19-1C. So, in the case of registration application, the owner must provide the drawings, okay, and also certificates and other required documents to the competent person examination. Otherwise, you'll be get penalized. If the owner fails to provide access or preparation or documents for inspection, the competent person may refuse and escalate the chief inspector by demand a new application and stop the boiler use until a complaints causing delays and legal risk. Okay. So here we have to provide the applications, or they have to provide the facilities or access to the competent person for doing the application or doing the examinations. Okay. Okay. The owner fails to provide access. So if it is not provided, they will be escalated. They refuse to escalate. Okay. Then they can refuse the operation of the boiler. So if the owner is not supporting to the competent person who is coming for the inspection, if he is not supporting that inspector, he will inform the same thing to the boiler inspector, so that they will stop the operation of the boiler till the complaints. Okay. Then the boiler owner must produce a certificate or a provisional order for inspection at reasonable times when asked by the magistrates, police, chief inspector, or inspector under this act or the Factories Act or other authorized officials. It is simple that whenever they ask a magistrate, a police, a chief inspector, or inspector of this act or Factories Act or other authorized officials, there we have to provide the license or certificate. Otherwise, they'll give a penalty. We'll see here. Production of certificate or provisional order, in the sense, just to show them in the case if they ask to showcase the certificate. Okay. Any questions as of now? Okay. No. Then, when ownership of a boiler changes during the validity of its certificate or provisional order, the previous owner or legal heir must hand over the documents to the new owner. It is just to simply hand over the documents in the case of any ownership change. Okay, you are just hand overing to the new owner. In case of a boiler accident, the owner or person in charge must submit a written report to the inspector within 24 hours, detailing the nature of the accident and any damage or injuries of a proper assessment, which is 23.1 and 23.2, which is the sections. Okay. In the case of a boiler accident happens, we have to report within 24 hours. Okay. Report of accident. In the case of any accident occurs to the boiler components, the owner or person in charge of shall within 24 hours of the accident report the same in writing to the inspector. Okay. Within 24 hours we have to report. Every such report shall contain a true description of the nature of the accident and of injury, if any case caused thereby the boiler or to the boiler components or to any person, and be detailed in such a manner as to enable the inspector to judge the gravity of the accident. So point 2 gives about the, we have to give the a detailed information to the inspector regarding the accident, so that he can able to estimate the depth of the accident or the severity of the accident. Okay, every person shall be bound to answer truly to the best of his knowledge and ability. Every question put to him in writing by the inspector as to the case, nature, or extent of the accident. So, in the case of any questions are asked by the inspectors on the accident reasons or causes, so they have to give the true information. The inquiry in respect of accident under this act shall be made in such a manner as may be prescribed by the state government. So the inquiry, it happens as per the state government guidelines. Okay. Okay, this we have covered. Any person affected by an inspector's order or refusal regarding certificates or other powers under this act may appeal within 30 days, submitting the appeal as per the state government rules, and the appeal will be disposed of following prescribed procedures. So it is the right of the every boiler owner. They can file an appeal, in the sense they can go against the orders which is passed by the chief inspector, appeal to the chief inspector, so they can comment, or they can go against the orders which are given by the chief inspectors. Okay, sometimes they may do intentional orders or cancellations, or sometimes they won't give the approvals on time. In those cases, we can go for an appeal. Then any person aggrieved by the chief inspector's order under the section 24 may appeal to the central government within 30 days of the order, following prescribed rules and paying the required fee, so which is 25. So even we can approach the central government also within the 30 days of that the orders which we received. And any person aggrieved by the central government under the section 25 may submit an application for revision within 60 days of communication to the central government, complying with the prescribed requirements. Okay, so within 30 days of communication, the requirements has to be fulfilled based on appeal which you have made as per section 25. Okay, then any person aggrieved as the order of central government under section 25 may be submitted. Okay, this is the same. The owner of must surrender a provisional order, show certificates on demand, transfer them to a new owners. A report of accident within 24 hours fails to comply may lead to penalty of up to 5,000 rupees. Section 27. So minor penalties. How you will get penalties? Any owner of the boiler who refuses or without a reasonable excuse fails to surrender a provisional order required by subsection 2 and section 14. So whenever any person or inspector asks for certificate, if you are refused or failed to submit, and also fails to produce a certificate or provisional order when duly called upon, and also fail to make over a new owner of boiler a certificate or provisional order, and also fail to report an accident. See, these are the reasons where if you are failed to fulfill the requirement, you will be penalized up to 5,000 rupees. Report of an accident, makeover of ownership of the boiler and certificate or provisional order, and also producing of the certificates or surrender of orders. If you are not operating the boiler, you have to surrender.